others. They are for. Confusion has its cost. For each other.
Yes, so Hairless here. Here we are with Home Free's cover of Helplessly, hoping this was the winner of the members poll of which Home Free reaction to do next. I did not know the original song by Crosby, Stills and Nash, so I gave it a listen just now several times, and I will be giving it many more listens in the future. I must admit, it's really, really nice. There are some gorgeous harmonies in there, their voices blend so well together, and they really exaggerate the occasional scrunchy note or juicy note, as I might call it. Yeah, I really like the original song. There are also some moments in it that really stood out to me, so I'll be looking out for them in Home Free's version to see how they handle them. When I was listening to the original, I was thinking how Home Free must be the best suited group out there to sing this song. I think so anyway, based on the song and based on Home Free's voices. If they don't do much with the arrangement, I really wouldn't mind at all. I think the song is nice enough to remain unchanged. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see how Home Free will treat it, and I think let's just get straight into it.
Helplessly hoping her harlequin hovers nearby, awaiting a word, gasping at glimpses of gentle true spirit. He runs, wishing he could fly, only to trip at the sound of goodbye. Wordlessly watching, he waits by the window and wonders at the empty place inside. Heartlessly helping himself to her bad dreams, he worries. Did he hear a goodbye? Or even hello? They are one person, they are two alone, they are three together, they are for each other.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's really, really nice. And the choice of them to omit any kind of beat is a testament to their intention for the arrangement. Whilst in the original song there's no beat through the form of a percussive instrument, we do still have the guitar playing, which is finger plucking, which kind of acts like a bit of a beat. It keeps the momentum ticking over. I mean, and it was only 3-part until just before we paused when Tim and Adam came in there. But I think let's go over what we've heard so far. If you're not interested in the analysis, skip to the timestamp here. So back to the opening, a cappella, one voice, one part, as exposed as it physically can be. And it's in the same key as the original.
Helplessly hoping her harlequin hovers.
It's funny because Chance has the melody here. This is the melody, that's a given. But in my mind, even though I know that that's the melody and that the other parts are singing in harmonies of the melody, this part still isn't the melody to me. The way I see it in this song, each vocal line, of which there are 3 in the original, are equally as important. They could all be the melody. It's similar to the song by Fleet Foxes, White Winter Hymnal, and then in terms of a cappella groups, Pentatonix did a cover of that. I did a reaction to that video as part of the Christmas series.
I was following the
3 parts, all equally important. In the original Helplessly Hoping, all 3 voices come in at once straight away.
Helplessly hoping her.
Home Free's choice of having just Chance and then Rob joining in with him and singing in unison together.
True spirit, he runs.
And then only moving to 3 different vocal parts being heard when Austin comes in.
Wordlessly watching, he waits.
It's very interesting. It's not what we'd expect. We have 3 singers, 3 vocal lines. Usually you'd expect them all to come in on their separate parts at the same time or to come in one by one. Because of Rob and Chance singing together in unison, I was expecting the next voice, whatever that might have been, to also come in unison. So it was a nice surprise to get this nice rich 3-part harmony here when Austin comes in. Chance has the lowest of the 3 parts and he still goes up to an E4. So in general, it's a high song vocally as Chance has the lowest part and he's still singing up there. The upper two lines are high, they're very high, and this I'm sure is part of this song's magic. When Rob joins Chance, I'm surprised at how well their voices blend together and how well they work together. Rob's voice is much lighter, it's a bit more nasally. We can hear that here on the word runs.
He runs.
Chance has a naturally deeper set voice, a bit more rasp to it. If you'd asked me beforehand to choose two Home Free members whose voices are probably the most dissimilar from each other in terms of timbre, I would have picked these two. So it's great to see their unity in unison. And after every phrase that's sung, we hear this tiny bit of an echo.
Wishing he could fly. Only.
And this contributes so much to this raw, exposed overall feeling that we get from this song, from this performance. It's a subconscious thing, I'm sure. Also, their choice to withhold from using vibrato. Again, it's a more raw, kind of flat sound. Vibrato is often associated with vocal training or good singing technique. So we get this phrase, sound of goodbye, just before Austin comes in.
At the sound of goodbye.
This feeling is different to the same moment in the original song. Well, why does it seem a bit different if it's the same melody? We only have one melodic line, one musical line. This means that the musical context is minimal. The only musical context we have is this line itself. When it comes to building an overall feeling in the music, that's all we have. To me, at this point, it sounds like we're in A minor. The two voices that we have finish on A, on the root. And as we know, minor is sad. In the original song, we have this guitar part that's providing all these other notes, as well as other harmonies. And the chord, the harmony that we have here is D major. Major being a more happy feel. So the melody that Rob and Chance are singing here finishes on that note A, as we saw earlier, which in D major is the fifth note of the scale. The line that finishes on the D major in the root is actually the middle part, because how they're singing it, this A is heard down here. So it's interesting to see, you remove every other part, sing just one line, and suddenly the musical context that we create in our heads based on that is different to the original song. I mean, 3-part harmonies, it just suits them so well.
Bad dreams, he worries.
Unbelievably good in tune 3-part harmonies, so tight, and it's so much more difficult to be that tight, that in tune with each other when you're not using vibrato. Using vibrato, wobbling the voice, can sort of mask the smaller tuning issues. So their choice to stick with no vibrato in honour of the overall type of feel of sound that they're going for here, I think, which is a bit more raw, a bit more relatable, is a great choice. I mean, we can just see by listening to the product. So we get this bit on or even.
Or even.
And to compare to the original,
Or even.
Home Free make two nice subtle changes here. Number one, the rhythms. Home Free elongate each note to make it clearer which note is being sung and which note changes. This in turn exaggerates each note change, and when they're all played together we get the chord changes, which leads on to number two. Chord changes are the harmonic progression, or you can think of that as basically the musical foundation underneath the melodies. And Home Free have changed the notes a little bit. Whilst the original song is a little bit harder to hear exactly what notes are being sung because they come off quite quickly.
Or even.
The lower part, for example, which in Home Free's version is Chance's part, is changed. So in the original it would sound something like this. But then with Home Free's changed part, it would sound like this. And then we get this kind of iconic bit, one person, two people, three people.
One person, they are two alone, they are three together.
We're 1.5 minutes in. Home Free's choice to stick to only 3 parts max up until this point. I think the music really culminates at this moment here. The original has the guitar providing other notes. Home Free do nothing. It not only exaggerates the lyrics here, 1, 2, 3 people, but it also emphasizes the next bit, which is this 5-part chord.
They are four.
The arrangement has opened right up, like a portal of sound has opened up or something. Now, the notes that we have being heard are these. This vast G major chord, not a speck of vibrato, just an in-tune chord with overtones being produced. And that's because of the lack of vibrato, and it just shows how in tune they are. And it's this bit that is one of the moments in the original song that really stood out to me.
They are four.
In the original,
Four.
It's this rising 7th in the bass. We go from G to F. 7 notes up. In Home Free's version, the same voice part singing that, which I think is Chance here, but it could be Tim, goes from G instead of the F to the G. So 1 octave. 1 octave is not as dissonant as a 7th. It doesn't stand out as much. Arguably, it's a more solid or harmonically safe or stable foundation. Instead, that movement of the 7th from the G to the F, this comes in Austin, but it is inverted and up the octave. So it sounds like this, which is the top vocal part in the original. And then, of course, they switch to singing in unison on each other.
For each other.
They sing that word for much longer than in the original song because there's no backing instrumentation, or in the a cappella world there are no backing voices imitating instrumentation of any kind. The focus is on the words being sung through homophony, so they're singing it for longer. Alright, so we just had the other voices come in. Let's continue to the end. Curious to see what they do here.
Stand by the stairway, you'll see something certain to tell you. Confusion has its cost. Love isn't lying, it's loose in a lady who lingers, saying she is lost and choking on hello. They are one person, they are two alone. They are 3 together, they are for each other.
Well, I wasn't sure if that ended there because there are a lot of pauses to black throughout, and also the chord progression that we got at the cadence was not what I expected. I'll come and talk about that later, but yeah, wow. I love performances arrangements like this. Short, sweet, just quite nice. Nice is the word I'm going to choose to use here. Yeah, I can certainly see why this is a heavily requested one. Alright, well, let's go over the second half of that. So from where we carried off, we had this great rising homophonic progression.
Stand by the stairway, you'll see something certain to tell you.
It's chordally very tight, there's still no vibrato to be found. One reason for this tight sound, this rich, full sound, I'm going to call it the home free sound. It's their arrangement at this moment. The standout parts in Rob, Austin and Adam are moving upwards in pitch, they're going higher, but they don't forget about the lower voices. Usually in moments like this we might expect the bass voicing to be completely separate from the other voices, and these other parts might be moving all upwards together towards this climactic moment. But Chance and Tim stay low here. Listen on certain to tell.
Certain to tell you.
Them staying low creates this additional jumbling of frequencies of lower pitches. I'll put an image on the screen here. Lower pitches have slower frequencies. They're harder to pick out from each other. And speaking of low bass notes, just after that, we get this bit.
Has its cost.
It's the bass note that's the standout moment here. It's low, but it's not as low as you might think. It's not crazy low. It's 1 note lower than your typical choral bass might be expected to sing. The bass note that we have is this D down here, bottom D. The arrangement so far is limited. It's mostly homophonic, there's no beat, it's limited in the number of parts that we hear, there are no voices mimicking instruments. It's this musical context that Home Free have created in the arrangement that makes this bass note stand out a lot more than it would otherwise. And to hear another example of lower parts not being forgotten, we have these bass notes singing the drone.
She is lost.
Which are these notes. And we get this note as well on Lost, which stands out much more than the original. On Ost, the second Ost.
Lost.
I I would have said that that particular note is a home free note to make it a bit more of a scrunchy chord, but it is in the original song, just the guitar reduces the standoutness of this rogue note. I understand why this was heavily requested. It's powerful because of the arrangement and how bare it feels. Every musical choice they make is massively exposed. Then just after that we get this bit where the tuning is phenomenal.
And choking.
There's still no vibrato to be found, and it almost sounds like auto-tune just because of how in tune with each other they are. That's the frequencies of their singing aligning almost perfectly. On choking, we get this motion, which just sticks out to me.
Choking.
It sticks out to me as one musical phrase, but it's shared between two voices. One voice takes over the last note. And then we get a repeated phrase that we heard earlier, the 1, 2, 3 people bit, except this time, now they're implementing that drone, the lower bass notes that we heard earlier as well. They're combining them.
They are two alone, they are three.
And that drone, this time, again, is an open fifth, a very archaic kind of sound, which leads into the for each other bit. Very clever lyrics, by the way. I like the play on the word for. But yeah, we get this low growling bass note.
They are for each other.
That there is the bottom C. Last time we had this for each other part, they were singing it in unison. This time, they're not. So they're emphasizing it by making full use of their register and the members that they have. And then just before we finish up with this nice chordal addition at the end, I want to quickly just mention why I think this is a popular song of theirs, a popular request. I think it's because of the feeling of vulnerability that surrounds it. What I mean by that is it's a fairly limited arrangement because they're staying true to the original song in terms of harmony and harmonic motion. They don't include the rhythmic guitar finger plucking, so that removes any kind of beat-like element from it. So we're left with this rather exposed bit of music whose sole focus is the words being sung, and each phrase is exaggerated naturally because of the breaks in between the phrases where there's nothing else happening. And in turn, each break of singing, each moment of silence becomes more powerful because with each silence that we get, we're heavily anticipating what's going to come next, what's going to break the silence. It's an unusual method of causing tension or suspense in the listener. So at this moment here, the silence is broken by this classic home free ending. So first they start on the same note and then the arrangement opens up. Each voice is moving at slightly different times and moving upwards and downwards at the same time. I used a crude drawing to demonstrate this when they used it in their cover of Mayday. So there's a similar thing to this going on here. And I thought this was going to be the last chord. We have this G major chord with the classic supertonic note that they love to use and that I always mention every time I hear it, which just means the second note of the scale here. But they implemented a plagal cadence, which just means that you move from the chord of note number 4 to the chord of note number 1. This second last chord that we have here is G, number 4. So if we move down 4, 3, 2, 1, the chord of D, which is what they end on. Yeah, alright, let's leave it there. I mean, overall, I really like that. It's a short and sweet, no beat. I do enjoy these ones without any kind of beat at all. It's just very calming. Definitely one that I think makes you maybe think about things when you listen to it. And a particularly moving one, I think, because of the silences. The silences in this arrangement possess great power. Thank you to everyone who recommended that one. As always, thank you very much for watching. Would appreciate a like and subscribe. If you enjoy my content and want to support me and maybe want to help decide future content by voting on polls, you can do so by joining the YouTube memberships or Patreon linked in the description below, and I will see you next time.